Hello everyone! Today we have an interesting topic to discuss: waste management, segregation, and composting. These topics, these categorizations, these niche topics of environmental problems, they have surpassed boundaries and now they are being discussed literally on every platform. And of course, Instagram can't be left out of it. So join us today for a conversation with Miss Vani Murthy. She's here. Hello.
Hi, Ishita. How are you
Hi,
doing?
how are you? I'm doing
I'm
well. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
Thank you so much. It is an honor to speak to you. Let me just introduce yourself. Let me just introduce you and then we can get started.
Sure.
So, welcome everyone. This is Miss Vani Murthy. She's an eco warrior from Bengaluru, and she has co-founded Solid Waste Management Roundtable, and she's a member of that. And she's done amazing work. She's an eco warrior, always carrying her reusables, cutleries everywhere she goes, promoting a lot of these zero plastic, plastic-free July videos for all of us. Thank you so much. We have gained a lot of insights from you over these years, and it's amazing to have you here today.
Thank you, Ishita. Thank you.
Yeah. So just wanted to know if you would be able to show us your terrace garden and your composting, so we get all our audience to watch it as well.
Well, you can see around there.
Wow.
That's one part of it, and the composting is right there. It goes
That's
right up there. So, yeah, there are multiple. There are some that side. It's just starting to drizzle, so I'm not going out in the open.
right.
This is a little sheltered, so I'm just sitting. It's beautiful weather in Bangalore today. Uh, yes, enjoying the outdoor.
Yeah, that's lovely. It's so inspirational what you're doing. It's something so practical and feasible because all of us really want to do something. And I think through your platform, you're voicing more opinions about such issues and the feasible, practical solutions that we can carry out in our homes, in our apartments. That's wonderful. And today we would like to share more of your ideas about composting, the do's and don'ts, the myths with all of us so we can get started with it too.
Sure.
So my first question was, you have previously mentioned that vermicompost contains water-soluble nutrients and is an excellent nutrient-rich organic fertilizer. How can people who have little and no experience in this with gardening start vermicomposting in their homes?
We don't recommend vermicomposting as a first, attempt at composting. That is, if you're really growing a garden and you are growing edibles, if you're growing some food, vegetables or greens, then vermicomposting makes sense to start. For us, it's the regular aerobic composting that you start so that you get a hang of it. And then, of course, if you are growing a food garden, vermicomposting is a big part of it. And vermicomposting is a little different from the regular composting. So you need to have the earthworms, you need to source them, and you can't feed them every day like you generate waste every day. You can't put your kitchen waste every day in a worm bin. You have to be cautious. You can't overwhelm them because of the heat. As the organic matter starts to break down, there's a lot of heat, and that the worms don't do very well. So it is a little, I think once you hone the skill of composting, you can move to vermicomposting.
Okay, that's awesome to know. Thank you so much. And we've been following your Instagram accounts where you have like posted on 5 tips on vermicomposting, like especially guiding us with how the temperature should be in a controllable situation. As you've like mentioned in most of your lives of how it's a different environment for the worms as well that you're creating. So nurturing them is your main priority to focus on.
Yeah.
So lovely insights. And can you also briefly talk about your Swachagraha Kalika Kendra, India's first composting learning center? That was something wonderful to see on your account. Can you please talk us through it?
Definitely. So I'm a part of a group called Solid Waste Management Roundtable, and for the past, it's more than a decade that we've been trying to, sensitize citizens, get them to start looking at their waste and taking responsibility of the waste, so that the waste they generate doesn't get, dumped. So segregation had been one of our first campaigns, to win one bag. Then the second campaign we came out was Swachagraha. That is about creating 3 green spots in your home. Basically getting more and more people to start composting and growing their own food, to understand what real food is, what safe food is. And one of our members, Shanti, she lives in HSR layout, and she formed this citizens initiative. The citizens of HSR layout, they got together, and they started looking at how they can create awareness in their ward, and they did an awesome job. And from that came the Kalika Kendra. Kalika Kendra is like a demo center. It's less than an acre plot of, it's a park actually. It's a park, and in the middle of their residential locality. And there are all kinds of composting displayed there. And all the waste from the neighborhood comes there, and they keep every composting system alive by feeding it. So you can go there and actually look at community composting centers, displays, and then home composting, vermicomposting, and how you grow vegetables from the compost that you make. There are trees, fruit trees there. So it's a, and now there are cows also. And they're using the cow dung to actually, start composting all the waste that comes to the Kalika Kendra, which is picked up by the municipality. So we call it the learning center. Kalika Kendra is the learning center, and from that, actually in Telangana also they have the same kind of module there, called the Swachha Buddy. So we hope that in every city, every town, there are multiple such centers that people can visit there, learn from, what composting is all about, what kind of system can I put in my home or in my community. So because of the display of all the systems, it's so much easier for people to understand. So I think that's one of the things that, we are very proud of about the Kalika Kendra, because it is, people have come from all over India, all from outside India, to visit it and learn. And it is something that inspires you. And the citizens, they are doing an awesome job along with the municipality to maintain it. They go every day. There are groups and groups of children coming in for education. You have busloads of kids coming in. There are from other cities, municipalities come in. Members of different kinds of organizations come in. So yeah, I think it has it has taught a lot of people how they can set up decentralized systems in their towns, cities, and in their places.
Wow, that's wonderful to hear, because I think this just doing it at home and also teaching people, especially you mentioned students, I think it's great addition to their educational journey, as you can say. And it's awesome to hear all the wonderful things you're doing collectively with people and the group of people you're bringing for your roundtable as well. And in one of the interviews, you had mentioned that you produce organic vegetables and fruits. Almost 95% of everything you eat is self-produced from your own garden, from your own open terrace. How did you? How is that? Can you please tell us more?
No, I don't produce 95% at all.
Oh, okay.
I don't know where you got that information. For me, I can pick 3 to 4 times a week something from my something from my after I allow the monkeys and squirrels and rats that come up. I'm on the 4th floor. I still get rats after they have taken their pick. Then whatever is left is what I take. And so it's like the more it is more understanding what food is all about, learning to grow different kinds of food, understanding what are the regional food, what is local food, what grows easily, how do you manage growing food. So I think it just tweaked the farmer in me, and I'm very, very happy in the space. It's a green space. It is just lovely to be around plants, and there is an ecosystem built around it, where you have birds coming in. My composting, there are maggots that come out of my compost, which birds come and peck on them. And you have butterflies. I put them, the butterfly hosting plants, which host butterflies. There are nectar plants. So all kinds of ecosystem is set up here, and it's wonderful to have that very close to you. Every day you are amongst nature. So that's the amazing part of
Yeah.
having a garden. Yeah.
Wow, that's wonderful. And do you have any tips for people who are quite a bit hesitant starting their own garden or their own composting? Because personally, we as a family, we travel a lot. So we're a bit worried who will take care of it after we go for a vacation or something. So do you have any tips for people like us?
Yes, composting, of course. For us, that's the first, attempt to grow a garden, because you make your own fertilizers. When you compost, the nutrients that the soil needs, keeping the soil alive, putting organic matter back into soil is actually a part of growing. So you cannot, separate them. So composting and growing comes together, and of course, challenges like that, like you said, that once you have a garden, there you need to attend to it, because you're nurturing life, right? So
Yeah.
it's like small children, you can't leave them alone and go. So you need to make arrangements with a neighbor or some friend who would come up, and or some house help who would come and water them regularly. All those are important, because you can't just start a garden and then later on think about, oh my god, what did I do? I know I created so much, and then I don't know, I have to go on a holiday. And so that becomes a little messy. Right, I think it has to grow organically, in the sense, start small. Never look at having the entire terrace into a garden, like, very quickly. Start looking at growing few things, so that every challenge that you get, you have to learn, because you learning is not in somebody teaching you or you reading about it, but you actually experiencing it. So be it composting or growing your food, the learning comes only by using your hands. They call about the carbon footprints, I call the handprints. How you using your hands to make that soil, sow something in the hands, and grow something and then harvest something. So your hands do a lot of work, and that compensates for the all the horrible footprints that we have, carbon footprints. So yeah, so I think it's all experiential learning. Composting is, once you get a hang of it, it's like for life. Because it becomes so easy. I keep telling people, Maggie takes 2 minutes to make. Every day you spend less than a minute to bring your kitchen peels and put it in your compost bin, and check the compost bin whether it's too wet or too dry, and that takes you less than a minute. So it really, you need to get a hang of it, and for that there is an experiential curve. Like, you need to go through that learning curve, and yes, everybody can try their hands, because
Yeah.
60% of what you generate is from your kitchen. And if you can manage that at home, I mean, you will be doing the best action for climate change, because that doesn't go and get dumped, and methane is not released, because organic matter is what releases the methane when it gets compacted at the landfill or the land dump. And you on your part are actually taking a daily action to mitigate climate change. So composting is that powerful, and it's so magical. I promise you, it's magical. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. And composting something that already happens in our environments anyway.
Yeah.
Decomposition of literally everything that falls on the ground. Everything is basically linked to composting. And of course, what we repeat all the time, reuse, reduce, recycle is a circular sort of economy. And the thing that happens is generally composting, as you mentioned. That's super to hear. And what usually goes into composting bins for like beginners like us? What generally is very good for the composting bin?
Right. So when you start first in the beginning, just try not to put things which you can't manage. So things that you can't manage in a compost pile is when it gets too wet, and that would be like adding leftover food, anything that's cooked, non-vegetarian waste, anything that is very dense and very watery could mess up your composting. And for the first experience, you wouldn't want that. So take stuff like dry your these are all vegetable peels, bhindi, there's a banana peel. So vegetable and fruit peels could be the first, and eggshells. They could be the greens that you can take. They're all from your kitchen. So stick to peels that come off your chopping board. Uh, Make sure that you put it in a colander so that you drain the extra water that comes in your. Suppose you cut a watermelon or a musk melon. There is it's high in water content. So it could drain a little water. So you take out the water before you bring it into your composting bin. So that's the first thing, which is high in water and high in nitrogen, the green waste, the kitchen waste, the peels. The second thing is the brown waste. Ideally, for me, dry leaves, uh, and hay. Uh, Hay and dry leaves, they're high in carbon, and these are the ones that are the dry material. And wet and dry. So composting is all about the balance. You need to have a proper balance between the highly dense vegetable peels, fresh peels, to the dry stuff. So and leaves are available in season when trees shed leaves, dry leaves. Just collect them. For me, the best gift I would get is a bag of dry leaves, which I can keep it, and because I need it throughout the year, because I compost throughout the year. So dry leaves, or if you don't have access to dry leaves, you could also buy coco peat. This is a brick that has microbes also. There are vendors who sell you a kit. So if you don't want to be, bothered about wanting to learn it, from the scratch, just buy a kit. It comes with a handbook. They will hand hold you. So it's very easy to do it in the beginning. Then later on, you understand composting, and then it becomes a part of who you are. That you will not let go one peel. Even a peel is so precious to you, because what you're doing in the composting is creating that black gold, that amazing this is what we call the black gold. The end is like this, where it is almost like a tea powder, coffee tea powder, and this is what enriches the soil. So it is the browns, it's the greens, then it's the microbes. So we have to mimic what happened. Just now you said it happens in nature all the time, right? Composting is just the breakdown of organic matter, and it just anything that falls on the earth gets digested, and all the species around us generate only what the earth digests. We are the only one which generate what the earth doesn't digest, like plastics, styrofoam, and other stuff. The microbes can come in different ways that you want to introduce in your bin. It could be store bought. For us, we say even buttermilk, which is sour buttermilk, could be a fantastic addition to accelerate the process. Why do you add microbes? Because you're introducing microbes to make sure it hastens the breakdown, is accelerated. Cow dung is fantastic way to introduce in your car, in your bin, to create that kind of microorganisms which will colonize and which will break down, and you have finally that sweet smelling thing. And then oxygen, this is aerobic composting. Make sure your pile never gets compacted. It's always breathing. Like us, it needs oxygen. The microbes need oxygen, and it has to be breathing. So fluffing up the pile once in 4 to 5 days could give you that oxygen for the lower parts, which could have been getting compacted. And finally, what kind of bin that you have. Depending on the space that you have, you can use terracotta bins, which are natural material. You can use buckets with a good lid, all that. And every day it's the same. You take your kitchen waste, take the browns, mix them up, add a little accelerator in the beginning, and then put it into the bin and close it. And then after the bin gets filled up, it takes 40 to 45 days for it to completely break down. Given the conditions, if it gets too dry, it becomes inactive. It takes longer time. If it's too wet, then the microbes will drown. you know, so they don't do the efficiently. So you need to keep the moisture balance the right way. Moisture is very important for microbes. They're all aerobic microbes, they need moisture. So it is just the process that you need to understand. There is a science. You don't have to worry about the science of composting. It is how you're going to hone this art of composting. That's it. So it's an exciting process because at the end, what what you're creating is so magical. You know, that
Yeah, literally,
creates that yeah,
yeah,
living
all the
soil.
way.
Organic matter belongs to the soil. It doesn't belong to the landfill. It doesn't belong somewhere in the dump yard. It doesn't belong. It shouldn't be burnt. So all these are things that we shouldn't allow organic matter to, you know, get lost. It is a great resource that needs to go back to building soil. It belongs to the soil. So how, as individuals, we are generating organic matter. After we eat, we do generate, and what are we doing with it? So the choice is completely yours. Do you let it get lost, or do you want to create that magic soil?
Yeah. Wow. Wonderful insights. Learned so much from you. I think it's great how you like making videos for us. So I just wanted to sort of know like the step process to this. Like first we have a foundation, like lay over the leaves and something. So if you can explain it to us, what should we add first for the bin, the bottom, and then what
Right.
we add on?
Yeah. So if suppose there is a terracotta pot like this,
Right.
I have. So I layer it with a little bit of leaves at the bottom.
Right.
This is a breathing material, and also there are some holes. And this is like the bottom. If you put some dry leaves, anything that's brown, probably if you don't have dry leaves, shredded cardboard. You can
Right.
shred cardboard, but don't use newspaper at all, because cardboard and newspaper ideally has to go for recycle,
Yeah.
because we cut down trees to make paper and cardboard. So ideally, but if you have no access at all and you still want to, you have no access to other browns, then cardboard could be one of the browns that you use. So you put any brown matter at the bottom, and then the next step will be take your kitchen waste, take some brown material, mix them up. If you mix them up, it does the fresh waste doesn't get compacted. The wet green waste will not get compacted. The minute it compacts, air, if it is lacking air, oxygen, it starts smelling. A lot of people say, I started the composting, I was very enthusiastic, I started, but it started stinking. The stink came because the oxygen was lacking, or it was too wet and it was too compacted. Like
Yeah.
maybe there was a huge clump in the middle of the compost. So you have to be careful about how you fluff it up. And when you mix the browns along with your fresh waste, then it breathes, because the browns are in between. They
Yeah.
won't let it compact. So that's one trick that I have been doing, and I've never had a problem with smell. And then you keep doing the same thing every day. Take your greens, take your browns, add a little bit of accelerator if you have in the beginning, and then put it into yours. And every 4 days, you just give it a turn. Take a rake or something and just, inside out, you just, turn it around so that you're fluffing it up, so that it doesn't get compacted. That's it. Once the bin is full, watch it once in a while. Make sure it's, the moisture balance is in the right way. So I think then you're on for getting your first round of composting.
And any recommendations on the bin and like a pot or what? What do you recommend?
Uh, I am vendor neutral. There are a lot of systems available in the market. If you go to our Swachagraha vendor page, you will see a lot of systems available. So you just Google search composting bins, composting systems. There are so many vendors, because now it's become like a movement where everybody is taking responsibility. Everybody wants to do gardening. They want to make their own fertilizers. So I think it has given an opportunity for small businesses to, get into
Yeah.
this. And that's
Yeah.
wonderful. That's wonderful, because it helps more and more people to take up composting. So you can Google search. I mean, I think at the tip of our fingers, we have everything on the net. So anything that you want to ask, anything that you want, it is available. You have YouTube videos. People have been doing composting videos. So there's plenty of material, and also there are plenty of vendors depending on where you stay. Just check it out, and then you can just buy your system.
Wow, thank you so much for explaining so well. There's so much passion in how you're explaining as well. And it's truly evident how well you've established sort of your composting sort of journey along the years. And it's definitely going to be hard to compress so many years of your journey in like this tiny life. So can we sort of like flip back through the pages, and if you can explain us how you started this initiative, like when did you first think of doing something from home? And after that, maybe we could get a few audience questions. I saw like really wonderful questions that are really valid, and it would be great if we get your response.
Sure. For me, I mean, it's stuck. I can't see any questions. I can't. I mean, even the numbers have stuck up there. So
Oh,
I don't
okay.
know how many are watching right now. Uh,
Yeah, we have a few above 100, but I think we can get everyone to put the questions in the question
sure,
box.
sure. So about the journey, it's been fascinating for me. I've been a homemaker, hardly did anything outside home. And there was a time when I met few people, and as I was exploring something outside, kids had grown and was looking at doing something, and then it just that I felt so propelled towards waste. It's like a friend of mine, Dr. Meenakshi, she took on a project which she involved me in. You know, she was my mentor, my inspiration, and she just said, come, let's do it. And I was in there, and I learned everything about what waste is happening, what is meeting different kinds of people, how we need everybody to take
Yeah.
responsibility. And then we got this amazing team going on in my building. We started the segregation campaign in my building, and I had this girls, young girls, 12, 13 years girls, and we would like do such amazing campaigns, going out and displaying all our stuff, and telling people what segregation is all about, how compost is made. And then there was another team that got founded. Basically, my terrace has been a learning center, a mini learning center,
Okay.
because we had a lot of workshops happening in the beginning about segregation and composting workshops. Then we added on gardening also. So it was like once a month, Sunday, whole Sunday people would spend. They didn't want to go because they wanted so much information out of us, and it was so much fun interacting with small crowds where we had this intense sharing of knowledge. It is about my practice, sharing my practices. Everything that we did is what we shared. Nothing out of the book, or it was only experience that we were sharing, and there was no teaching as such there. It was just sharing. And then the solid waste management roundtable happened, which is like the pan Bangalore, and awesome. I mean, the journey has been just fabulous. I still continue to feel energy because of what it gives me. It has given me everything that I need. I have fun. I'm constantly in a space where there is transformation happening. People are understanding that more and more. The kind of feedback that I get on social media is evident that I'm not going anywhere. This is the space that I will thrive in, and I will continue doing as far as I can, sharing what the practices are. Yeah.
Wow, lovely to hear your story. And I think, yeah, as you mentioned, the more you teach, the more, not teach, the more you share,
Yeah.
it's transferred your expertise. And I think that's the most valuable form of actually knowledge and learning as well. The more you pass it on, the more people sort of take it hands on. As you mentioned, hands on is what you call it, your fingerprint as well. So
Yeah.
lovely to hear it. We have a lot of questions actually about the positioning of the bins. So should we keep it in sunlight, or when it's raining, should we take it inside? What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah. So ideally rainwater should not get in. So you have to protect it from rain, and also exposure to too much of sunlight all the time, because it can dry up the contents, especially if it is in a natural material like a terracotta or something like that. So ideally under a tree, if you have open spaces, and or if you have something closed under a staircase, or some kind of where there is little protection from too much heat and too much of, I mean, and rain, any rain. You don't want
Yeah.
rainwater to get in. Or you can put something on top of it when it rains, so that rainwater. Suppose you have a balcony, but you can't prevent rainwater from coming in. You just cover it, so that rainwater doesn't get inside. So you need to be a little careful for that. Yeah.
Okay. And do we need like any pores in the container itself for like
Yeah,
making
yeah.
breathable?
So if it is a plastic container, if it's a plastic bucket, ideally it should have some kind of holes so that aeration is maintained. Because in plastic, it doesn't breathe. The container doesn't breathe, and there's too much moisture and it doesn't evaporate. So the collection of moisture happens. So if it's aerobic, if it has some kind of air circulation, it helps the microbes also.
Right. And there was another question where they asked, instead of putting large chunks of waste into the compost bin, can we make it like a paste or some mix it together and put it, or how does it work?
Okay, so I have seen a lot of people do that. They grind it and they try to put, but I don't know. I haven't tried that method because I feel, it'll be so high in water content. How will it get managed? You have
Yeah.
processed it. You have processed it. The breakdown could be fast, but the microorganisms will not be able to do it in that kind of excess moisture. It will be very wet. So you need to, how do you balance the wet? So since I don't have the experience, I don't know. A lot of people say we grind it and put it into our soil. So I don't know if you have an open ground and if there are a lot of trees, you can put, I think, but it will attract rats and other vermins because it's food. So if we ideally we should protect our compost. Closed compost helps. It doesn't leach out your nutrients.
Yeah.
Secondly, you don't have any infestation of rats and other vermins because the fresh food is what they come for.
Okay. And also another really good question was what should be the composition of browns and the greens in the actual organic matter?
It all depends on what kind of waste that you generate. If you're a huge fruit eater, there will be lots of moisture in your fruit, so the browns can has to increase. So I think it's only through experience you will know how much of browns you need to add. Ideally, if it is 1 part of greens, maybe 2 to 3 parts of browns. That could be a kind of figure that you could keep in mind in the beginning, and then adjust if the browns are too much, like you have only dry stuff in your
Yeah.
kitchen and you're not having too much of high moisture peels, then your browns could be too much. So you have to do the adjustment. So give it a start, and then check out if it is too wet, that means you have less of browns. If it's too dry, that means you have less of greens. So make all the adjustments then.
Okay, that's great to hear. And there was another question that I'm also interested in, and many of my team members are also excited to hear your views on it. We're thinking of sort of like doing some collaboration with your team, solid waste management, and if you'd be interested, something as you mentioned, sort of an educational journey for even students. We could make like animated videos for kids in schools. So we are sort of branching out into schools projects as well. We could create more awareness in schools, because I think composting is something that if you start learning from young, you can sort of gain experience, understand, as you mentioned, as you do it along, you sort of understand what kind of like your waste needs are. And just wanted to know, and as well in the comments, we had a few people asking if they could volunteer in your organization or help you out. So yeah, we just
So,
wanted to know if
all of you can write to info@swmrt.com. I'll just type that up
yeah.
so that so you can write to us, and then we can take it from there.
Wow, thank you so much.
So yeah, that's the email. Just drop in a mail. Let's see how we could, because for us it's all about we have a huge body of work, and nobody need to reinvent. we could just pass. We are still in the, we have a website. We are still, trying to make it better, and a lot of documentation has to be done. But this is what we're doing. Like Telangana, when it took on, in Siddipet, when they wanted to do something what they saw in HSR layout, it was so easy to pass because we have all the information on how to go about setting that. It's a learning school. What is it that you need to display? They have a zero waste home as a display. How is segregation, what goes in what, everything is visually displayed there. So it's wonderful for people to come and take a tour. School children can come, everybody can come and go around, and they learn so much by just seeing. And there's a room which actually, there is a projector room where you are shown different things. It's like, so you have an hour of something that is being shown there. So it is definitely do get in touch with SWMRT so that we'll see what we can do together.
Yeah, we have like a few people here as well saying they could possibly start a branch in their city or community. We have someone from Kolkata here. So yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely we would love to explore that. And one thing that we wouldn't leave you with is we're so fortunate to speak to you in the Plastic Free July month, which is such an honor because we've been following your amazing videos about different things that you could do. One is on cutlery, one is on like different containers that you can use. So if you're asked to like talk about the main things that we can change in our life that would bring like a lot of difference, what would those few things be?
So yeah, the basic thing is to be very aware of how we are using resources, because whatever comes, whatever we buy, the stuff that we buy, everything uses resource. There's so much stress on the resource, and you use it, and then you use it once and you discard. That's a red flag. So anything that is used once, which has put stress on resource, you either cut a tree down to make a paper cup, or you have, taken out petroleum product to make a bottled water or any plastic which is single use. I think that's the first thing that we all need to just refuse. So there is so much pride in saying that I'm not going to use that product, because you're going to use it once and discard, and then after you discard, you have no clue where it's going. You don't even know if it get recycled, because 5% of what is generated goes for recycling. What could be recycled goes for recycling. So it is not very easy to get it to the recycler. So you get it, it gets lost and it pollutes. It stays on this planet for a very, very long time. When I say long time, it's not 2 years, 3 years, it's hundreds of years. So we need to be mindful of that. That's the first thing. So stop, accepting a plastic straw or even a paper straw to have your juice or your, whatever, cocktail or whatever. Just refuse it. So refuse has to be the first step. And then watch out your packaging. Can you go and pick up stuff? I instead of buying a biscuit, can I go to a bakery, take my box and pick up something? Things like that. So small changes, one step at a time. I think there are so much of material, that is there in the net where how to start. I was just talking about Sahar's Bare Necessities. It's a wonderful book which gives you a practical, tips and tricks to how you can reduce, make your own toothpaste, stop buying all these products, personal care products. You can make your own, how it's less polluting, because you know what's going into it, and at the same time you are reducing the impact of your you living on this planet has a huge impact. So how do you reduce that? That's the whole question. So be mindful, be conscious, and think of the resources that have gone into making a product before you make the choice of buying it, or or consuming it. So I think that you just have to come on to this part of sustainability, and then it will just take you, because you learn every day. There's a scope for you to improve every day. So you don't have to be overwhelmed of where to start. How do I start? Start with one, just one practice. But that practice should be something that will stick to you for the rest of your life. It's not a practice because it's a fad today, everybody's talking about it, let me take it on. No, It is something that you're doing for this planet. So you make a choice about that particular practice and take it to the rest of your life. That is sustainability. That's where you are on the path to sustainability.
You're truly a testimonial to what you're talking about, sustainability. You've done composting for over a decade now, and actually producing own organic vegetables, fruits is such a splendid thing if we think about it, because there you go, you just avoid plastic of all the way carrying it from the vendor or wherever you come from. It's so nice to speak to you today, and great advice, great insights. We learned so much more. And there was just one unique question in the chat box, and I was quite interested to know if that's possible. Is there any way we can sell the plastic that we already have, or sort of give it away for another?
Yeah, definitely. It has, see, a lot of plastic, high value plastic has recyclable value, but it has to go reach the recycler. So if you put it in a mixed waste, nobody is going to sort mixed waste. So it will go in the bag and it'll end up somewhere. But if you collect your, plastic waste, see, in Bangalore, we have a 2 bin 1 bag system, and every ward has a dry waste collection center. So we collect dry waste. It could be a shampoo bottle, it could be your milk sachets, which you know clean it, because you're going to hold it for a week. So make sure it's clean. Probably you'll have a takeaway, a box that you had ordered online, but then make sure you clean it before you save it, so that it can go for recycling. But if it is dirty with all the gravy stuck to it, nobody can take it to the recycler, because it's a lot of an effort to clean it, and you need manpower, you need someone to it is stinking, people just don't want to deal with it. So we need to give dignity to people who work in waste. It's very important for us. That's a sector that we need to acknowledge, that they are the champions because they understand waste and they know what is recyclable. There are so many categories of waste that can be recycled, and we need to be aware of that. Make sure it's clean and dry, and go and drop it off. Whoever, we have all these kabadi walas, and all those guys are there all around, but they don't take everything. So a dry waste collection center is an aggregator. He just collects everything, sorts it into some 30-40 categories of waste, and then they bale it, because they can't sell 1 kg 2 kgs, they have to sell half a ton, 1 ton. So they need to collect and bale it. So you're helping them by keeping your dry waste clean and sending it. Every bit of paper can go for recycling. Glass can be recycled. E-waste can go for recycling. So we need to understand that we shouldn't mix the waste, but keep it clean and send it. It has great value in recycling.
Wow, great insights. Thank you so much. And we're really looking forward to spreading more awareness about what you have taught us today through our YouTube and everywhere we can post more about this, because I think these are like valuable lessons coming from the expert, from the professional. Thank you so much. And we're really looking forward to more videos on Plastic Free July that are really helping us on day-to-day basis. And yeah, just creating more awareness. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ishita. It was lovely talking to you. And thanks everybody who has tuned in and asked all those questions. Just believe that you can make a big difference. That's it, and all of us will take action and we stay on path. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.